Welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck, where you get real news from real people. Today we have Renee and Kendi on the end, and of course, as always, Patty. We're doing a little switch up here. And anyway, we want to thank you all for joining in on us today, but we have a jam-packed day. But before we get started on the news, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I got a phone call last night from one of our viewers. It was a sweet man. And he said not to use his name, so I won't. But he said he really enjoyed the show yesterday. And we had talked a little bit about abortion. And that's a very tough subject. Not for many of us, but for some, it's a tough subject. Anyway, he had said that there are so many people that, or the news keeps reporting how many people are dying from COVID, and nobody ever reports how many people are dying from abortion on a daily basis. And he was so excited that we actually touched on that subject because most news programs won't touch on that. So I did a little research, and the daily death rate for COVID worldwide is between 9,300 and 15,000. Right now, it's under 10 grand. It has been going down, but it was as high as 15,000 people a day. And that sounds like a lot of people, but we all know people who have passed away of other causes, and it was also claimed as a COVID death. And we personally know that that wasn't the case. Example that I've given before is a stage 4 cancer a friend of ours had, and they listed it as a COVID death. Anyway, so with COVID deaths, daily rate, 9,000 to 15,000 a day. Would you believe that there are 125,000 abortion deaths a day, and it's not reported? There are 3,000 a day in the United States alone. So I wanted to give a shout out for that. So,
and in North Dakota, it's around 50 a day.
50 a day in North Dakota.
Wow. Thereabouts, and that was a couple years ago.
Sure. So then with COVID, there's been almost 2 million deaths worldwide from COVID since they started keeping track last January. And right now, abortion, there has been 1.35 million deaths since the 1st of January. So I just wanted to put that little bit in perspective.
Can I correct myself? 50 a month.
50 a month?
Not a day. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Because somebody said it's like a classroom of kindergarten students.
Every month.
Every month, yeah, more than a classroom.
So that isn't really on our topic, but he said, I wish you guys would give the COVID deaths and the abortion rate every day. So we're going to touch on it. Just, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, and it's not our topic for today. Actually, we're going to jump right into the Insertion Act. That's what is kind of on everyone's radar. Everyone's been talking about that. It's the most searched word on the internet right now. So I just want to put this screen up. The definition of the Insertion Act. It's an act authorizing the employment of the land and naval forces of the United States in cases of insurrections, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that in all cases of insurrection or obstruction to the laws, either of the United States or of any individual state or territory where it is lawful for the President of the United States to call forth the militia for the purpose of suppressing such insurrection, or of causing the laws to be duly executed, it shall be lawful for him to employ, for the same purposes, such part of the land or naval force of the United States, as all shall be judged necessary, having first observed all the prerequisites of the law in that respect. And that was approved in March of 1807. But before invoking it, the President must first issue a proclamation ordering the insurgents to disperse within a limited time. And so he thought about using it this summer during the BLM riots, but he did not. The last time it was used was in 1992 to quell the Los Angeles riots. And then also there was some widespread looting in the Virgin Islands after Hurricane Hugo. So anyway, it's been a big topic.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought he would use that with, you know, Minneapolis and all the looting and the burning and so forth. I was surprised that he didn't. You know, there is talk that he may do that, you know, now. And to me, it was deja vu because I didn't vote for Trump. I was the only one saying I don't want either party to win. And a lot of people who didn't vote for Trump, who were hardcore Republicans, they were concerned some people have predicted this, like at least 2 or 3 years ago, that he was going to use this tactic. So I got a little concerned when I'm hearing people talk about this. Is like weird.
Yeah. You know, the fact that they did talk about it, I did think it was weird that they were talking about it because we've never had this kind of situation before. I remember seeing Biden on CNN saying, well, if he doesn't leave office, this is what we're going to have to do. And I thought, why are they even talking like that? And here we are in such a strange situation. Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, chimed in about what if he doesn't leave office, and almost as if they were expecting that we were going to have this kind of controversy. So I don't know.
The people that did in my circle, very strong constitutional conservatives, I think, and maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm assuming the reason they were concerned is just because they had seen already from the primary all the way now this authoritarian personality that concerned us. And we were like, oh boy, this is not good. And many of us believed that he was a Trojan horse put in by the Democrats to destroy us, to get things passed that Hillary could have never got passed, which if you look at what's gotten passed, it's very many liberal policies. So that's
I
what
don't believe that.
That's
you
what
know
I
why?
assume.
They never would have put somebody in that was as pro-life as he was. They would never have been able to even stomach it.
He actually spent more money. He gave Planned Parenthood more money than Obama.
The policies around the world, and with Title X, with the Mexico policy, where he cut off any kind of funding.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's almost like they expected it because, yes, he has a very stubborn personality, but it would always be based on votes. They presented it like, boy, he's so crazy. We might not even be able to get him out of office. But 74 million people at least voted for him.
Yeah.
They're ignoring what happened in the country. And now the election is contested, and that would be the only reason why a president wouldn't want to leave office if you're a rational human being. But they were predicting this, a whole year before the election.
Well, my friends were predicting it like probably the second year he was in. But Kendi, what do you
Well,
think?
I just want to say one quick thing. My biggest concern is that the lines continue to be blurred between the national level and the state level. And I just think that it's so important for us from a state level to recognize that with the president usurping power, that it takes away our rights as a state. And as members of North Dakota, as citizens, we need to do our part to protect our Constitution. Of course, we have the Constitution of the United States of America. But the one that we really need to be concerned with is the one that operates here locally, which is the state. And as President Trump puts forth this threat, we need to be aware that it could cause a consequence against us that we would not be happy with.
Right, and that's just it. There's so much more to it. But just on the note about the state and the country, most people don't know that the county sheriff is the most powerful person in the land. He has more powers than the president. The only reason they don't use their powers is because they'll get state funding and federal funding cut off. So anyway, we have so much more to talk about, and we'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef in all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Heroes and Icons is changing to Cozy TV on January 18th. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. You know, before the break, we were talking about the insurrection. And Candy, let's give you a chance. You had another thought that we always talk so much more in between. Actually, we should record that part because that's always more interesting, it seems. But go ahead and share with us.
Well, so Mary had just touched on the fact that sheriffs have so much power. And I've learned a lot recently in regards to how there is a movement to remove the local control, the local power. And one of those movements that is occurring in the nation is the loss of sheriffs. And we haven't necessarily seen it here in North Dakota yet, and I hope that we'll pay attention to what's happening. But there are several states on the East Coast that no longer have sheriffs. And so we need to pay attention and be aware as citizens to protect our rights and to protect how the United States was set up so that we are protected from tyranny.
You know, those are excellent points, and I think we're going to have to do a show on that because I had read somewhere, and of course this isn't on our show today per se, that even in North Dakota they're talking about combining some counties down to one sheriff. And so it is happening here. It's not just this coastal nightmare that we live in. It's happening right here in our backyard.
Yeah, be aware and don't let it happen.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Candy. We appreciate it. So now we're going to visit a little bit more about censorship. We talked about it yesterday, and this isn't going away. And so I just threw up this one quote from Hillary Clinton. She said, "Last week's attack is cause for grief and outrage, but it should be said, or should not be for cause of shock." She goes on to say that Wednesday at the Capitol was tragically predictable result of white supremacist group grievances fueled by President Trump. But his department from office, whether immediately or on January 20th, will not solve the deeper problems exposed by the episode. What happened is cause for grief and outrage. It should not be cause for shock. What we were too often passed off as a ranting of an unfortunate but temporary figure in public life. Can you believe that Hillary Clinton is calling him a temporary figure in public life? Hillary, I got news for you. You're very temporary. In fact, you didn't even make it. So let's talk about temporary. That, to me, that's just, you know, they talk about, now if President Trump would have put that tweet up, it would have been taken down immediately.
Right.
If Maxine Waters, or if President Trump said anything like Maxine Waters does, like go out there, get in their face, do this, if you see them in a restaurant, you know, take care of them, that would be banned. That would be all over. But they encourage that. They shut down a conservative voice, and they exploit the loud left. And I guess that part is so frustrating to me.
Well, I think they're exploiting both sides, Mary. I mean, they're really getting us to play against each other. And again, we need to be aware. It's interesting, as that quote was put on there, the fact that she uses the phrase white supremacy. You guys, this is something being used against us as Americans to cause division. Most white men are not set on ruling over those that are minorities. I mean, that's not real. And with all that's occurring and these messages that are being put forward, we have to realize that they're working to create division in us as Americans, and that we need to be united. Regardless of the fact that we may see things differently, it's important to find common ground and realize that we are fighting to protect our freedoms here in America. There you go.
Every time you hear
Amen, amen.
Every time you hear white supremacy, you don't even take that person seriously. 99.99% of Americans find them appalling.
Yeah.
And people who are white supremacists have mental problems. There's something seriously wrong with them.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be associated with them.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody from the left throws out white supremacy, you know,
Right.
it's like, what is your problem?
So-
we aren't even having a real conversation anymore.
So we're halfway through the segment already. I just wanted to say that Harvard today eliminated all the Republicans off of their advisory board. And now Cruz and Hawley, they want to put them on, or Hawley, they want to put them on a no-fly list because they didn't agree with their politics. And that's what I mean by getting shut down.
Yeah.
Do you have a quick comment?
Yeah, well, I think I liked what Ron Paul always did. He knew how to get past this political theater of the right left, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us to hate each other, and then it distracts us from what they're doing behind the curtain.
And wasn't he banned yesterday too?
Yeah, him too.
Yeah.
And I said to my sister, because we talked about this, and I said, what about me? What about me? Like, I've been banned. Nobody talks about me.
Have you been banned?
I've been banned so many times.
I was
I've been banned forever.
evaporated. I don't even exist anymore on Twitter.
Yeah.
7,600 followers
But
gone.
I would like to just say,
disappeared.
because this guy's like a Ron Paul, Justin Amash, he keeps focusing on the positive, and he doesn't pay attention to this political theater. And he tweeted this: constitutional conservatives, libertarians, classical liberals, let's build something together. Let's build a party we can be proud of. One that honors our American traditions, upholds the rule of law, and protects individual rights. One focused on persuading, not hating.
Yeah.
Amen.
I like that guy.
too.
But Renee, they won't let you, as soon as you don't agree with them,
Yeah.
you're a hater.
I know, but you know what? We got to just stop giving in to them
Right.
and just keep.
Who's giving in?
I know.
It's being robbed.
But what I'm saying is,
I was on Parlor. We're gone.
I know.
Twitter. I don't exist
Okay,
anymore.
but guess what? Technology will get other. We'll get
Right.
other
Yeah, you're
avenues.
on Beck.
Yep.
You're
I mean,
on Beck.
hello.
You don't need anything else.
That's better than Twitter, right?
With that being said, guys, I have another clip. This has more to do with shifting from the liberal states to the conservative states. Take a look at this video that I put together.
Guys, you got your ear to the ground listening to the information coming out of Oklahoma City. National Western is being held in Oklahoma City. I wished it would stay there. You know, you people that vote and live in your liberal states, sometimes you might lose some of your activities and your events to some of these states that still want to have them. But everybody I've talked to that's been to a National Western event or watched one online or talked to people that were there, everybody is loving it, having it in Oklahoma City. It's easier to get around. Like I said on a previous visit, not all the hotel rooms smell like weed, which is nice. You don't have to walk through a cloud of it to get to where you're going all the time. Not nearly as many hippies and punks hanging out and loitering in your parking lots as you're trying to get around. It's a lot easier to get around with pickups and trailers. People are happy that you're there. If you walk into a restaurant with boots on and you've got a little bit of on the toe. Nobody's going to raise a fit about it. Sure glad we're going to be able to have it for all the youth. It's a junior livestock show, but my kids are going to be going to Claude, Texas to show their animals. So I guess there's not any COVID over in Claude. I haven't spent too much time there lately. There's not much of anything else over there either, but
So he's just commenting. He's a very good friend of ours, but there's no COVID in Texas, evidently. You know, it's like so. And then we talked about the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo, that was moved from Vegas to Texas.
Yeah.
Now the Denver Stock Show is in Oklahoma, and it's like so. It's kind of nice that it's like these events still need to go on. There are people that still want to get out and do things. They're not going to be silenced. They're going to not listen to all this COVID nonsense.
They're going to follow the science.
Good
the
for
real
them.
science.
That's it. That is the solution. Don't comply.
Yes.
We've always said government has no rights. Their only job is to defend our rights. And you give them the power if you comply. We should not comply to any of this nonsense.
So
we're in trouble.
Well, I hope we can do Zoom from a prison cell.
There you go. But we got to take a break, ladies. We got to take a break.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We have a guest this segment. It is Clayton Peterson. He is a retired NRA, North Dakota and South Dakota senior field representative. But before we get to you, Clayton, I just wanted to give some breaking news. President Trump is back on Facebook. So Not sure how that happened. Twitter is kind of his big deal, but he got back on Facebook, so who knows? Maybe Twitter's next.
I'm not though. I'm still banned.
Well, I'm in 30-day jail again. That's like 4 back-to-backs.
So we're all prisoners. So anyway.
I'm on MeWe.
Or Adrift. I'm on MeWe. Got cut off in Parlor because it doesn't exist anymore. Like, you know, who can
What do you
keep
do?
up?
What do you do?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on up at the Capitol this session. You are following a couple bills that have to do with some rights. And just go ahead, just start from the beginning.
Well, and I just got the bill number, everybody. I know that Representative Magrum is the guy that's bringing this forth. And it's bill number 1193. And what that's going to consist of, we're trying to get rid of, and Jeff brought this last time. So if everybody's familiar, this was in session 2 years ago. It barely lost in that legislative session. And I know that our District 31 reps actually voted for it last time, so that was good to hear.
Well, tell us what the bill is about.
The bill is basically going to get rid of duty to retreat. What that means, everybody, is that if you feel threatened and it's a violent threat, you cannot today, as the way the North Dakota Century Code reads, you cannot use deadly force or any and all force. You're supposed to try and basically negotiate your way out. The only way that actually comes into effect, and this is this code right here, is if you're in your threshold of your home. And that's what we're trying to get rid of. We want to make sure that everybody has the absolute right to protect their life, their family, and their property. And it's basically going to just get rid of part of Section B within the North Dakota Century Code. And it will basically give you that right to use deadly force if you feel you are that threatened.
So talk a little bit about landowners out in the countryside. Say you have an acre or a few thousand, and you are, say you're in your tractor, say you are farming or you're on your horse, you're ranching somewhere, and you feel threatened, just like, say, during the DAPL protest, that did happen.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. We saw that happen a lot in DAPL. You lived closer to it than I did. But we saw some of that even over in my area. I had a couple guys in a little, and it's the stereotypical Winnebago van. They were driving down the road looking for some tribal land, but they were 100 miles way too far west. And let's just say they left. I showed them how to get back to the highway and told them how to leave. But I carry pretty much 100% of the time when I'm on the place for an array of reasons. It's not so much for protection, but for anything I might encounter.
Well, we need, for prey, for...
But if those people would have got violent with me and wouldn't have left my land and actually would have, say, pulled a gun on me, I probably would have been found guilty of no less than manslaughter, the way the law is written today, even though I'd have been defending myself. Now, I would have called for a jury duty or a jury trial, because I'd rather take the chances in front of a jury than a judge any day. And I can guarantee you, you would not have walked away without being charged on something like that. This bill, you can prove it, which is pretty easy to prove. You'll be okay.
Okay, so
can I ask you something? Because I'm a non-gun owner, unless you count a pellet gun to get rid of those pesky rodents. But I defend people's right to own guns. But I'm wondering, when you say feel threatened, that there's a wide possibility of definitions there. And surely people have to have a clear understanding. What does it mean to feel threatened? Irritated because somebody won't get out of your way?
Someone puts a gun in my face?
Okay, obvious. Yeah.
That's a threat.
Okay.
If you come at me with a knife, that's a threat.
So by a threat, you mean like your life is in danger?
Your life is in danger. I mean, and some people will claim threats like that don't really exist. We're seeing that right now, as you guys were just talking about. I mean, we got people on the floor of the United States Congress saying that we had a terrorist uprising, essentially, and a threat upon life. No, we didn't. I watched a video, and they can say what they want. I watched a video where people walked in the door right through Capitol Police in the Capitol building. Not much of a threat there.
Saw the gates open for them.
Yeah, so I mean, there is rhetoric all the time involved, and it's going to be upon yourself to take responsibility. Never, ever doubt that it's a very huge decision to do that. I have had to pull my protection firearm 3 times in my life, and I guarantee you I was going to pull the trigger. You got to be in a frame of mind, and I've had a lot of training. It don't just come to you. I don't want to take nobody's life. I don't think anybody does. I hope nobody does. That's just not a sane thing for somebody to want to do that. But if it comes down to protecting my life or my family's life, I'm always going to choose to do that. And that's kind of what this bill is about. I would say that when you talk about what is a threat is going to be exactly that, a threat upon your life.
Sure.
And then you have no option but to use deadly force.
And it has nothing to do, this bill has nothing to do with law enforcement or any of their duties to...
No. And we talked a little bit about this a while ago. I know I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric out there that this is going to allow police officers or law enforcement to shoot you. Well, they can do that already, okay? This is part of the Century Code that's already written, and I can tell you, it's in Section 12-10507, the Century Code, and it's under the limits of use of force, excessive force, deadly force. And within that particular deal, if you look back here, we already have this. It's in Section D of that code. We're not changing that part. The only pieces we're changing or even looking at is the duty to retreat, which essentially makes you a victim. And we want to make sure we get rid of that part of it. It's been called a lot of things in a lot of other states, but it doesn't create the Wild West. We haven't seen murder rates rise.
Got it.
We're good.
Okay, so we also have another bill up there. I think they call it the red flag laws. Is that something you're working on?
Well, red flag laws, it wouldn't be a bill we'd be bringing. I don't know if they're going to bring one this year. You know, it showed up in last session.
Tell our viewers what a red flag law is.
A red flag law essentially will eliminate the due process that you have under the Constitution. Say I get mad at you and I'm very upset, and I can call up the authorities under a red flag law and say, I feel very threatened, whether it's a substantiated threat or not, and say that you're a threat to yourself or others. They can go take your firearms without a warrant, without anything, and then you have to prove that you are not a threat and that you are not guilty of anything. Well, that's a fundamental infringement on our constitutional rights. That's why, and you know, we've been talking about authoritative things and what kind of power. I mean, we've been really seeing the abuse of power here in the last year, essentially, as far as I'm concerned, under executive orders and emergency orders and mandates. That's what this is. They would be coming in without any authority whatsoever, taking your personal property, and then you have to fight for your right. That ain't how this is. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around.
Yep. Yeah. It's almost like sometimes when social workers come in to take the children to determine whether or not...
well, and I don't know, like I said, I haven't seen anything that so far legislatively that's coming, but I was very disappointed in the leader, Wardner, supporting that last time along with Baszler. Now we'll see where they come down this time or if they've got other fish to fry, but that was very disappointing to see that coming out of a Republican leader last session.
Didn't Trump support red flag laws?
He did at first. You know, he kind of backed away from it. You know, we talked about that here a while ago too, that I think he had some very bad intel. It's kind of like the bump stock thing. I think he handled that incorrectly, and we can talk about where that's heading to. But yeah, he kind of came out and said that. I do know at that time that some folks from the National Rifle Association visited with him. At least Trump will bring them people in and talk to him. He had a roundtable discussion essentially, and then he came out and was not in favor of them. I think he understood, as he put it. I always fear of that word. I don't understand anything that infringes upon my rights.
Yeah, and he's probably not a gun-toting American like a lot of people are. Like, you know, because we use it.
He does have a concealed permit in New York.
He does. Oh,
Very
you know,
hard
I
to
had
get.
heard that on one of the news shows last week. And so that is interesting. But I'm guessing he probably doesn't have a room full of them like a lot of farmers and ranchers might.
Probably not.
You know, you got the ones for the coyotes, you got the ones, you know, to
For the tyrants,
put down a
for
critter.
the hunter.
You know, right? So anyway, we're going to be right back with Clayton and Ladies of Another View on back right after these messages.
Howdy folks, it's the County Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay-Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve. Through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We have been visiting with Clayton Peterson, a former representative of the NRA, and he kind of filled us in a little bit about some of the gun laws that are taking place. But let's step back or step up to one that involves private property rights. That's been battled at the Capitol for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And property owners still do not have the right to have their own or consider their land private property. We're still trying to change it. So what do you know about that?
Well, I'm confident as it being a top priority, especially with Farm Bureau, that it's going to be a top, one of the bills that's probably coming forth. I do not know how that's going to be worded or done this time around. Last time we were all pretty involved in that with 2315. And really all we're asking for is that if you own property, like, well, I do, you do, several of us do, especially in the rural area, that you don't have, nobody has the right to come on that property no matter what.
Without permission,
Without
absolutely.
permission. And right now, the way the statute in North Dakota Century Code is written, you may enter that property if you don't see a sign there. Can you imagine that? And if they did that in town? If you don't have a sign saying that no one can come in your backyard, that they could just come and set up and have a barbecue? I mean, essentially, you can do that right now in the rural areas. This was never a hunting bill. The fur and fish and fuzzy groups hijacked it and turned it into one and motivated and got to, I'll give them this, they're good at motivating their membership. Their base is, they're active. And I mean, we were very active. I couldn't be there a lot during the House sessions, but I was there a lot during the Senate ones. And we did a great job in the Senate, got it through, came through unscathed really, and had a clean bill. It's when it got to the House. And there were some things in there and that were honestly, they are of concern. One was the felony part of that. It was a pretty steep felony, and I know that was a deal breaker for someone. We got within 4 votes, even after the bill split. I think that's the closest they've ever gotten since this has been debated. 4 votes ain't much.
And so some of those votes were because people were saying, well, out in the countryside, there's a lot of small private cemeteries, and they were worried that these and I don't want to call them abandoned because people do go visit them, but it's very rare that these, I mean, there might only be 10 people in a cemetery.
Might be 1.
There might be 1, right. So they were worried And that's what the other side used,
Yes.
that you're not going to be able to go see the cemetery. You can't go see your loved ones. But we have law
We do.
in the Century Code regarding an established trail. Tell us about that.
Well, you got to remember, and I'll read that, always when you got an opposition to change, and that's a big change. That bill's been in existence for 100 years, the way it is now. So they used fear, and that's what they played on the emotions of people and said, hey, you're not going to be able to see your loved ones in the cemetery. And that's what this was about. I'm going to clear that up right now. We have chapter 2407, guys. And what that is 2407-1, public roads by prescription. All public roads and highways within this state which have been or which shall be open and in use as such during 20 successive years, hereby and declared to be public roads or highways and confirmed and established as such, whether the same have been laid out, established, or opened lawfully or not. What that means, if you have a trail, whether it's on a section line or not, or it was a road or not, and it's been there for 20 years and people have been getting public access, it's open, it can't be closed. I can't even close it if it was across my
But
own
it has
property.
to be public access to a public place. It can't be just a trail on your road that people have been using.
Doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it
muddies
could be
it again.
interpreted that, but I guess it does clear up though the cemetery thing.
It absolutely.
And that was the big fight from what I understand. Like I said, I couldn't be there. I was down in the hills on another deal when that was going on, and unfortunately I wasn't there. I would have answered that question because I knew that.
But I thought Doug Goring brought that up. I thought he had, or was that in the committee afterwards?
It could have been, I don't, like I said, I couldn't be there when it was
I
coming
know there
up.
was discussion about that,
Yep.
but it was never clarified.
And in all honesty, when we should have known that off the top of our heads when we were talking about
But we
this.
did, but they weren't convinced that
Right.
that our truth was the
Right,
truth.
well, and that's why when I go to them hearings, I bring proof. I like very distinctive things in writing, and that's why I do it. It's just like I have our bill 2315 here from last year, and it was a pretty straightforward bill, nothing really in there that was shocking to anybody. It just eliminated parts, and it's kind of like the bill we were just talking about, 1193 coming. These things, everybody, these bills exist right now. They are on the books. They are part of North Dakota Century Code. We're just removing things or adding to them. It ain't like it's brand new law. It ain't like it's brand new ideas. It exists. We've lived under that law for who knows how many years, you know, depending on the actual Century Code that's listed. But now we're looking at it going, does it still fit the time? Does it need to be tweaked? Do we need to fix something?
Right.
And that's kind of what
And
this all
that's what
comes
the
about.
legislative session is for.
Yes.
So, well, that's interesting. I think it's ever evolving. But, you know, one of the things that they complained about is they could never find a landowner. But if you talk to every hunter, most of them are on Onyx. I mean, that's probably the major
Onyx
app.
is
But
probably
there's
the
a
main
lot of
one.
apps out there that you can find the landowner and a phone number almost immediately. If you
Yes.
want to hunt on that land bad enough,
And I'm
you'll
going to
find
add to
them.
that. I mean, it's great that that all exists, but it is not your right to have that information. It is your duty as the hunter, if it's a hunting issue or something, or you want access, anybody, if you want to camp on my land, if you want to go trail hiking, it's your duty to track me down. And I'll give you a good example this year. I had my North Dakota lockout signs up, and they do the job. Those signs actually work better than any sign I've ever had. And I can tell you right now, that guy, he went up to my neighbor's house. He went up to my other neighbor's house. He stopped till he found me that day. I happened to be out hunting myself. And Mr. Kofi, thank you. That is how it's done. He did a fantastic job finding. We sat and visited a little bit. I told him, I said, well, daylight's burning. I said, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I said, you better get over there and start hunting. And that's how that's done. You build them
build a
relationships.
relationship.
And I don't know why a hunter or anybody wouldn't want to do that. I really don't understand it. And if you look in North Dakota's Game and Fish book, when they're given their certification for hunter safety, it's right in there. Find a landowner. Talk to the landowner and contact them. Have respect for the landowner. So it always makes me cringe a little bit when I see them actually actively, even though they can't do it in an official capacity, they are actively against us changing this law. And this thing they came out with in the study, to me, Game and Fish should never have a seat at the table. This ain't a hunting issue. This is a private property rights issue, period. And they can disagree with me. I don't care. Never have. They have no seat at the table. that is not, they don't even have the land. We own the land. Over 90% of land in this state is private property.
But now I think they're trying to get their fingers in state land.
They are. And I'll address
School
that
land, it's
too,
called.
if we got time. School lands, do we still have time?
We got about 2 minutes.
School lands, you can post them, right? All you got to do is make a request to the trust lands department, and you have to have livestock on that land. And I can tell you, I've had trouble with this. People around my cows when I've got them in there. You can request it, they'll send you the signs, and you post them, but you can't hunt it either. The person who's renting that land also cannot.
Well, if you hunt it, you have to let everyone else hunt it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is.
So if you post it, it's posted.
Yeah, and if you post it, you cannot hunt it.
Exactly. And when the livestock comes out, you have to pull it out. And I did get spot checked last year, which I didn't care. I was following the rules. And yes, I had that piece posted because I was having so many trouble. And I can tell you this, when I called, they were, well, we could just put up a walk-in sign. I go, no. I said, I'm tired of having this issue. And you know what? It worked.
Well, there's other states that have this school land, the state land, where they're trying to encroach around the edges of that land as well.
Yeah.
And telling people, well, you need to plant this plot or that plot. We've talked to people from other states regarding that. My husband's pretty involved in that. So it's interesting. You got about 30 seconds.
There is, and there's also the step across thing. I know Montana, this is a big issue when you've got two pieces of land that are intersecting at a corner. I personally don't have an issue. If you're crossing from one piece of public land to another and you're going over the fence and it's right there at the corner and you don't damage it, I'm okay with that. I know a lot of people even have that issue, but I'd be willing, you know, in any kind of thing like that, I'd concede that as well. I might have two privates and two public. If they want to go across to the public, I don't see where that's an issue, especially if they're walking. But
Sure.
I know that's been an issue too.
All right. Well, I was going to try to talk to you about what a Biden-Harris, but we don't have time. We are fresh out of time. Anyway, we'll have to have him back on to visit about that. You are watching Ladies
Thanks,
of Another View on Back. Thanks for being here, Clay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boss and Breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm back. Clayton sure brought some interesting facts to the surface here. In this segment, it's called our lighter side. This is where we like to end with something upbeat. I found this video last night regarding this little Native American gal up in Canada. She actually does quill work. Now, quill work is a hobby that they've used for years, both to make things to use and then later on for decoration. Take a look at this quick video of her.
And we put this one in, and then use the tweezers to pull it in.
So she's been around quill work her whole life, the harvesting, preparing the quills. So she's watched it a lot, but as she's gotten older, I've been giving her lessons that are more age appropriate. So this was the year that we finally started doing quill work together, where she's been designing and doing the pieces. Roll through, it doesn't, there you go. See how it pushes through on that side? It's because of that line.
Okay. This. It's really cool how you can use porcupine pine quills from that actual animal and put them into a bark piece like this and make like one of these designs or one of these. If some people don't believe Mi'kmaq people do what they used to did like 1,000 years ago or something. And I thought it would be cool for them to learn that we still do it after like 1,000 years.
Okay, so a little translation there. She's just adorable, but she said that she's doing something that her culture has been doing for over 1,000 years, and she's so excited that she can do this for the next 1,000 years and help her family carry on these traditions. And I think it's just great that when people have a family tradition, what kind of traditions do you have, Renee?
We're big foodies in our family, and my mom's an amazing cook, and my grandmother on my father's side was an amazing cook. So I think our traditions probably are more food orientated, Hungarian background, German background, and just all those amazing soups and fried chicken and all that kind of stuff.
But just recipes that have been kind of handed down through the generations.
Yep.
That's great.
You know, we're Irish and German, but not really traditions being handed down, except I make pepperoni rolls, and that's a big thing in our family. And so I actually have a daughter whose husband started making them. So I think we're having a battle of the pepperoni rolls. I started adding onions, and we add different seasonings, so we fight about that. But my husband and I were in the Marshall Islands. That's where we met. We met in Micronesia, Marshall Islands, and they did a lot of crafts there, beautiful crafts with shells and weaving, and it reminds me a lot of the Native American artwork, and a lot of that was being lost, but it was so beautiful. And just a thought I have, not only just handing down that tradition, but doing crafts with your kids if you don't have, I used to do crafts. They weren't, ethnic ones, but we did them, and that in itself became a tradition in our family.
That's so sweet. So there's a common theme for all of us with tradition, which is food. So yeah, I have traditions that are with food too. So I have a grandmother, actually she's passed, but one of her traditions was she would make spud nuts for not Thanksgiving, Halloween. And so the kids would go trick-or-treating to her home, and she'd have these spud nuts for them.
What is a spud nut?
Like a donut, but you use potatoes.
Okay.
Delicious.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah,
delicious.
perfect name.
But I wanted to do something similar to that, but I didn't want to do it on Halloween because of my kids. So twice a year we had a special day where we would make spud nuts, and it's something, I started when my kids were babies, and I've done it for 25 years now.
Oh, wow.
Something to pass on to them. So,
Well, can we be like a cooking show, and you can
I
make
would
your
love
spud nuts?
that.
Spud nuts.
Great idea.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think part of it too is because the United States of America is such a melting pot that a lot of us have lost our traditions. And now when you're overseas or if you're in Europe, they think everybody's a cowboy over here. And we did have one on the show
Some are,
today.
yes.
We did. But I think a lot of the things, because even some of my nieces and nephews, they're doing their traditions. I have a niece that goes over to Germany all the time, just during the Oktoberfest, because there's different traditions. And so it's interesting, but
that's neat.
Yeah, I wish we had some of our old traditions that carried down for 1,000 years. We don't. I don't anyway. So, but we just have a few minutes or maybe a minute or two. What are your final thoughts today, Ray?
Well, I think today having our speaker on, Clay, his name's Clay, right?
Well, I call him Clayton.
Okay, Clayton. Okay, sorry. I think what I got from that is we really need to focus more on our local government, and I personally need to get educated more. It was very informative, so that would be my final thought was I'm thinking local, local, local.
Awesome. You know, I was thinking the same thing when Mary talked about the sheriff, and I thought, maybe we should do a show on this. Or just getting more involved at the local level, because that's where we can make our biggest impact. We're not all called to national government, but we can all get involved locally.
Yep.
Yeah. So mine is, I have a friend who carries around in his back pocket this little piece of wood that's about this big, and on it says, "Be strong." And it has a scripture from Jeremiah. And we live in challenging times, and I would just say, be strong and have faith in the future. And let's, again, put out that positive vibe.
Absolutely. There's so much negativity going on right now that we have to think positive. Life isn't over. We're gonna get through this. People have been getting through this for thousands of years, and everyone thinks that this is it. It's not it. There's a lot of life left in us. So anyway, we appreciate you joining us on Ladies of Another View, and join us tomorrow. Next time on Ladies of Another View on Beck.